Minister Lloyd spoke out about American and Russian troops being at the same base in Nigeria. Russia's Buk M1 air defense system was attacked by Ukrainian UAVs. Russia's shooting range was suddenly attacked, causing great damage. U.S. intelligence revealed Russia's tactics to force Ukraine to negotiate. Minister Lloyd spoke out about U.S. and Russian troops sharing bases in Nigeria. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd spoke out on May 3 after the media reported that Russian Federation military personnel entered an air base where U.S. troops are stationed in Niger's capital Niamey. In a statement given at a press conference in Honolulu on May 3, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd said he saw no significant problem because the Russian military did not have access to personnel or equipment. Of America. Air Base 101, where our forces are located, is a Nigerian airbase, located alongside an international airport in the capital, Niamey, Mr. Austin said. The Russians are in a separate complex and have no access to U.S. forces and no access to our equipment. According to the U.S. Secretary of Defense, he always focuses on the safety and protection of military personnel, and currently he does not see any significant problems related to the protection of U.S. forces at air bases. Army 101. Previously, on May 2, CNN published a revelation from a U.S. defense official that the Russian military and the U.S. military had been operating at the same military base in Niger for at least several weeks. This led to a situation where Russian and American troops were close together at a time of tension between the two sides over the conflict in Ukraine and Niger, which had made it clear that they wanted American forces to leave. Sources said the Russian military used a separate hangar in Air Force Base 101 in Niger, where U.S. troops are still present. Air Force Base 101 is located opposite Diori Hamani International Airport in Niger's capital Niamey. On April 22, the Pentagon confirmed that the U.S. had begun negotiations with Niger about withdrawing more than 1,000 soldiers from this African country. Niger is an important base for anti-terrorism operations in the region. In March, the Nigerian military government announced it would end its military cooperation agreement with the United States. The U.S. presence in Niger for nearly a decade has focused on counterterrorism operations, including training the Nigerian military and supporting military operations against the international terrorist organization Islamic State, ISIS, and Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, a branch of al-Qaeda. Russia's Buk M1 air defense system was attacked by Ukrainian UAVs. TPO, the Ukrainian Defense Forces have destroyed the Russian Buk M1 air defense missile system on one of the hottest fronts. Pravda news agency reported on April 25 that during reconnaissance operations on one of the hottest fronts, the 3rd Ranger Regiment of the Special Operations Forces discovered a Russian Buk M1 system that was prepared to launch missiles. The target coordinates have been transferred to our missile and artillery units. Before the Buk M1 system could fire, it was destroyed, a Pravda source said. Specific information about the location and time of the attack was not disclosed. Russia said Ukraine could use ATACMS missiles to attack the Crimea Bridge. Opty Aladanov, commander of the Akhmat unit of the Chechen Republic, Russia, and a senior official of the Russian Ministry of Defense, told TASS that Kiev could try to attack the Crimea Bridge using ATACMS missiles that the U.S. Academy support. On April 24, U.S. President Joe Biden signed into law a military aid package for Ukraine after it was approved by Congress. U.S. arms supplies to Ukraine are expected to resume this weekend. We should understand that the aid package that the U.S. is trying to provide to Ukraine is initially intended to help Kyiv be able to do something extraordinary on the battlefield. 2/3 of this money will obviously stay in the U.S. And part of it, including the ATACMS system and other weapons, will be delivered to Ukraine as aid. I think these missiles will be used to carry out attacks on the territory Russia. It cannot be ruled out that they could attack the Crimea Bridge, Mr. Aladanov said, and said the Russian army will try its best to repel such attacks. Russia's shooting range was suddenly attacked, causing great damage. More than 100 Russian soldiers are believed to have died after footage emerged showing a training ground in the Luhansk region of eastern Ukraine being targeted by the US-supplied long-range Army tactical missile system, ATACMS. A volunteer for Geo confirmed, an X account, formerly Twitter first shared a video of the attack. The source said the footage showed a Ukrainian ATACMS attack, with 4 ATACMS, including one, hitting the Russian training area in Mozhnyakivka, Luhansk Oblast. Based on the footage, the damage would be significant. The US recently secretly sent Ukraine long-range ATACMS missiles, capable of attacking targets up to 300 kilometers away. The Kremlin has not commented on the reported attack. Open-source intelligence account OSINT Technical said the clip showed Ukrainian forces conducting an attack on a Russian training area with a trio of M39 ATACMS tactical ballistic missiles supplied by the US. At least one ATACMS directly attacked a group of more than 100 Russian soldiers, raining hundreds of M74 APAM bombs on them, this account said, sharing a still image of a group of soldiers gathered in the area before the attack. The Institute for the Study of War, ISW, highlighted the footage in its latest analysis of the conflict in Ukraine on Wednesday. ISW said Kyiv recently attacked a Russian military training site about 80 kilometers from the front line, behind Luhansk. ISW said, locational footage released on May 1 shows that Ukrainian forces attacked a Russian training area southwest of Mozhnyakivka, possibly with 4 ATACMS, and are believed to have killed 116 Russian soldiers. U.S. intelligence revealed Russia's tactics to force Ukraine to negotiate. A U.S. intelligence official said that Russia will increase attacks on Ukraine's infrastructure, slowing down defense production and forcing the country to consider negotiations. Testifying before the Senate Armed Services Committee on May 2, Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines said that Russia is seeing developments both domestically and internationally that are beneficial to it, so it will likely continue the war. Raid epidemic in Ukraine. According to her, Russia has increased attacks on Ukraine's infrastructure to hinder Ukraine's ability to mobilize weapons and troops, slow down defense production, and force the country to consider negotiations. Russia's increasingly aggressive tactics, such as attacks on Ukraine's electrical infrastructure, are intended to give the impression to Ukraine that continuing to fight will only increase Ukraine's losses, and will not lead to the tactics are likely to continue and the conflict is unlikely to end soon, Ms. Haines said. The Russia-Ukraine conflict has lasted more than 2 years and shows no signs of ending. Russia is increasing the intensity of its attacks while Ukraine runs out of weapons and artillery and has to wait for more aid from the West. The Economist newspaper quoted Ukrainian military intelligence general Vadim Skibitsky as saying that May is an important month when Russia carries out a 3-layer plan to destabilize Ukraine. Accordingly, the first layer is to strengthen military attacks. The second is a campaign to spread false information, to shake unity in Ukraine. Third is to isolate Ukraine in the international arena. They will turn everything upside down in any way possible, he said. In the interview, General Skibitsky added that he does not see any way for Ukraine to win on the battlefield alone, even if Ukraine could push Russian forces back to the border, an increasingly remote prospect. That won't end the conflict. According to him, wars of this type can only end with treaties. Currently, both sides are jostling for the most advantageous position ahead of potential negotiations. But the earliest meaningful negotiations could only begin in the second half of 2025, he predicted.